So, lads, today we have to talk about this absolute nonsense because two reasons. One, the referees, how did they manage to screw up this badly with this? And two, we have seen this cause think pieces in the past with other players, so we're having the exact same conversation, but we're going from it from a different perspective. It is so dumb. It's so dumb that I have to talk about this, but it was also dumb last year when Caitlin Clark would flail, not realize what she was doing, hit someone in the face, get rightfully called for a technical foul, and then suddenly there's think pieces saying that she's calling her a dirty player and everything.
Did Paige Bueckers just get away with the single biggest double standard in the WNBA? Seriously, stop and think about that for a second. Because what went down in this game wasn't just another missed call, another ref mistake, or some random moment you forget the next day. No, this was different. This was the type of moment that forces everybody, fans, players, and even the media, to step back and say, hold on, what are we even watching here? One shove, one non-call, and suddenly, the entire foundation of fairness in this league looks shaky. Because when one player can bulldoze through a veteran like Kelsey Plum and skate away without a single whistle, while other stars are penalized for far less, you're not just talking about officiating. You're talking about favoritism. You're talking about a league that seems to bend the rules depending on the name on the jersey. And that's why this blew up instantly. Because Paige isn't just any player. She's the face the WNBA has been dying to promote. The golden girl since her UConn days. The name attached to endless highlight reels and glowing headlines. But that image, that shine, it comes with a cost. Because now every foul, every bump, every call, or lack of one, is dissected under a microscope. This wasn't just about Paige and Plum. This was about Caitlin Clark, who gets hammered on drives with no whistle. This was about Angel Reese, who's branded too physical every time she battles in the paint. This was about Aaliyah Boston, who barely breathes on defense before the refs blow the play dead. Same league, same officials, wildly different treatment. So when Paige plows through Plum, no whistle, no foul, no accountability, it's not just a missed call. It's proof of the very thing fans have been screaming about, a double standard so blatant it's impossible to ignore.
That's basically what she did. She scores, complains to the referee, turns around and rams over an opposing team's player, and just keeps running back on defense. Intentional? Probably not. Did she care? Nope. Because she just kept running back on defense. She sure as hell made it look intentional.
Let's break this down play by play, because context matters. The aces are locked in. Plum is fighting on defense. The crowd's tense. Paige drives to the rim. Smooth as always. Finishes with a layup. That's fine. Nothing wrong with that. But then, instead of doing what every other player does, turn, regroup, and head back to set up on defense, Paige makes a move that changes everything. She pivots back toward the ref, clearly frustrated that she didn't get a call on the shot. Her focus isn't even on the floor in front of her. And in that split second, she barrels straight into Kelsey Plum. Not a soft shoulder, not incidental contact, a full-on collision. Plum's body hits the hardwood, arms out, sprawled across the lane, and the arena gasps. Now, in basketball, these moments happen fast. Sometimes you get tangled up. Sometimes it's purely accidental. But here's the part that had everyone's jaw on the floor. Paige didn't stop. She didn't glance back. She didn't so much as twitch like she realized Plum was down. She just kept jogging casually to the other end like nothing happened. As if mowing down an opposing player mid-celebration was just part of the playbook. And then came the real shocker. The refs? They swallowed the whistle like it was dessert. Not a single sound. No foul. No warning. No conversation. Just silence. And that silence spoke louder than any whistle ever could. Because if this were Caitlin Clark throwing an arm and barely grazing someone, she'd be eating a technical. If it were Angel Reese, she'd be staring down a flagrant and a fine. If it were Aaliyah Boston, you'd already see her jogging to the bench with another foul tacked on. But Paige gets nothing. Not even the courtesy of a review. That's not just bad officiating. That's favoritism, plain and simple. And fans know it. Players know it. The outrage didn't come out of nowhere. It came from years of watching one standard applied to everyone. and a completely
I love Paige to death. Do not get me wrong. I think, I think she's a hell of a player and, would love to play with her one day. But those refs were giving her every freaking whistle last night.
This wasn't just about one shove. It was about everything that came after. The silence, the inconsistency, the double standard that's been building for years. Think about it. Caitlin Clark flicks her arm after being hacked. Instant foul. Media think pieces labeling her dirty. Angel Reese throws an elbow that barely connects. She's flirting with an ejection. Aaliyah Boston bodies up too hard. Boom. Whistle right away. But Paige, she literally sends Plum crashing to the ground and nothing. No call, no warning, no accountability. Fans notice, players notice, and now the entire conversation is about why one rookie seems to play by different rules than the rest of the league. Now let's be clear, superstar whistles aren't new. Michael Jordan got them, Kobe Bryant got them, LeBron still gets them today. But here's the difference, those guys earned it over years of dominance at the highest level. Paige, she's barely stepped into the league. She hasn't won a title. She hasn't dominated seasons, and yet the refs treat her like she's untouchable. And that's where the outrage really comes in. Because this isn't just about protecting a star, it's about manufacturing one. The league knows Paige is marketable. UConn royalty, highlight reels, social media darling. She's the perfect brand face. But when the product starts bending the rules for the brand, that's when credibility cracks wide open. Even if Paige didn't mean it, even if the shove wasn't intentional, the optics were brutal. You knock someone down, you look down, you apologize, you extend a hand. That's basketball etiquette. Paige didn't do any of that. She looked straight past Plum and ran back like she didn't exist. And whether she meant it or not, that moment screamed louder than anything. It screamed, I don't care. I can get away with it. And thanks to the refs, she did. That's why fans are furious. That's why the narrative of favoritism won't die. Because perception matters just as much as intention.
Yeah, I'm gonna. Yeah. I'll do that walk right now. You heard it. I'll remember this day. I'll remember this day. The rookies talking shit is crazy. The rookies are built different here. They don't even carry their loops anymore. What the fuck is going on?
Let's not pretend players didn't notice. Kelsey Plum is not the type to shrug things off. She's fiery, competitive, and she knows exactly when she's being disrespected. You can bet she filed this one away for the next matchup. And other stars? They've seen this movie before. Caitlin Clark getting hacked and ignored. Angel Reese whistled for breathing. Aaliyah Boston fouled just for holding her ground. Locker rooms talk. Players compare. And now they're all watching Paige get away with what they never could. On social media, the clip went viral within minutes. Half the comments screamed, "Dirty play." The other half defended Paige, calling it incidental. But the split itself proved the point. No one can agree because the refs refused to set a standard. This shove wasn't a one-off. Watch Paige closely and you'll notice a pattern. She slows down deliberately on drives to bait contact. She throws up wild shots, lands awkwardly, and somehow ends up at the free throw line. In this game, she actually had more free throw attempts than field goal attempts. Think about that. Shooting more from the line than from the field doesn't happen by accident. That's foul baiting rewarded by refs desperate to blow the whistle. Meanwhile, Caitlin Clark can't buy a whistle even when she gets hammered. Angel Reese gets labeled too physical for playing defense. The double standard is obvious, and it's killing trust in officiating. Some people will say, it's just one shove. Who cares? But here's the truth. It's never about just one shove. When refs refuse to set boundaries, players take matters into their own hands. That's when you get retaliation, shoves escalating into scuffles, and chaos breaking out on the court. And the timing couldn't be worse. This wasn't a meaningless preseason game. This was late-season basketball. Playoff positions on the line. Tensions already high. Letting something like this slide isn't just unfair, it's dangerous. Now let's look past the shove and into the actual numbers. Paige had 18 points, 7 assists, 6 rebounds. On paper, solid. But break it down, and the inefficiency shows. She relied heavily on free throws, just as she has all season. Her fanbase calls it crafty. What it really is. Foul baiting dressed up as skill. Contrast that with Plum. Only 12 points, sure, but she was actually trying to compete straight up. No baiting, no begging for calls, just basketball. And yet she's the one who gets bulldozed and ignored. If the roles were reversed, if Plum had run through Paige, you'd hear whistles before Paige even hit the hardwood. That's the difference. Here's the ugly truth. The WNBA wants stars. Paige is the perfect candidate. But when the league protects one player at the expense of fairness, the cracks show. Rivalries are intensifying not just on the court, but in the fanbase wars. Clark fans versus Paige fans. Reese fans versus everyone. Boston fans demanding respect. It's turning toxic. And officiating inconsistency is pouring gasoline on that fire. This isn't just bad refereeing. It's the kind of bias that makes people question the integrity of the league itself. At the end of the day, nobody's asking for Paige to be suspended or branded a villain. What people want is simple. Call the foul. Be consistent. Treat every player the same. That's the only way the league builds trust. But here's the problem. Paige didn't just shove Plum. She sent a message, intentional or not. And now, every time she makes contact, every foul, every bump will be magnified. She may have escaped this time, but the spotlight will only get harsher from here. So now I'll throw it to you. Was Paige just careless? Or is she already benefiting from superstar favoritism before she's earned it? Either way, the refs blew it, and the double standard couldn't be more obvious. Drop your thoughts below.